Well, in any case, I'm here for Alison Hart. A few weeks ago, I was here for another event, and some people gave me books. I got like 2 manuscripts and 5 uncorrected proofs or something, and which happens a lot when I am here at Book Passage and in any other place. And I thought, with all the traveling and everything, I won't have time to read them. But when I got home, the next day, I just opened Alison's book, Almost White, and from the very first page, I was totally grabbed by the voice of the narrator, and the story was so compelling. And so, I mean, it gave me goosebumps from the very first few lines. So it is really an honor for me and a great pleasure to introduce Alison today to you, because probably you might know her as a poet, but this novel is really wonderful. A little bit about her, she will speak about herself later, but Alison was born in Massachusetts. I have no idea what that is. And she is from a mixed race, really mixed. I mean, she's African American, Native American, Irish, Scottish, English, and maybe she has some Chilean blood. She has not done that. I think she might. She has written award-winning poetry, short stories, and plays. She's the single mother of a son who is now in college, and we are now videotaping the whole thing for him, so you can see your mom. And she lives in the Bay Area, so we're very fortunate. And she has come here in spite of the smoke and everything, like you have, so thank you. Alison worked for many years in public schools as a music teacher, mostly with kids with trauma, including some who were homeless. And research on poverty, trauma, and the brain proves that art and music can help to rewire the children's brains. So trauma is always in Alison's mind, and it is the thread that runs across her novel. Her experience with her students helped her develop some of her characters, and I'm sure that some come from her family too. Mostly White is a novel told in the voices of several characters, some of which, as she admitted, are loosely based on her own family. And it spans 4 generations, from Emma, the first voice who survives brutality in an Indian residential school in the late 1800s, to Ella almost a century later. And so please welcome Alison, and after she has her reading, we can all participate and ask questions and open up a conversation with her. Please welcome.
This is such an honor. I love you, Luis. And I'm sorry you couldn't be here, but thank you so much for filming it. What a nice gesture. Thank you, Isabel, and felicidades on receiving the National Book Awards Lifetime Achievement. And thank you, Book Passage, for hosting this event. Torrey House Press, my publisher, and Marketing Angels, Amy Benetti and Elaine Dennis, and the book's godmother, Liz McCarthy, and the Godfathers, Andrew Weiner and Jerry Thompson, and first readers Nanette Dietz, Lucille Langday, Abby Avenatti, Roberta Lee Tennant, and all of you that are here now in these very challenging, smoky times, difficult times. And I thank you for coming to bear witness to this story. Waliwan, that means thank you in Passamaquoddy. I'm going to start with Emma. She's the fiercest, one of my most favorite characters, loosely based on my great-grandmother, who's Passamaquoddy and Black. In 1879, the Bureau of Indian Affairs established a law that forced all Indian children to go to school. Many children were removed from their families and sent to residential schools. These schools were run by religious groups and funded by the federal government. there are patterns in history. And after writing this book, then we as a country, we witnessed the pattern happening again at our border. So hopefully it will be like, once we see how dysfunctional our country is over and over and over again, we can finally stop it. Emma, Washington County, Maine, 1890. The name of this chapter is Snake. They beat me. I tell you, that's what they did at that school. They beat me. School. If I spoke my language, ooh, those nuns would get so mad and call it the devil's language, and Sister Ann, oh, she'd get her switch. Everyone's eyes in the class wide and turned to me. I didn't care. I was tough. I was too tough for them. Already 11. They beat me and I didn't cry. Tried to beat the Indian out of me. Only good Indian is dead Indian. Kill the savage, save the man. Take me out the front of the class and with that switch, smack, smack, smack until I bled. They couldn't get to me. I made myself real small. So small, no one could get to me. It wasn't me they were beating. They couldn't get to me. That's what any of you will get if you speak the devil's language in here. Sister Ann props the switch by her desk. Silence in room. I'm a lump on the floor. My brother, he is the only one that can see me. That small pebble I've become. Joe wipes his eyes. Oh, Joe, don't cry, silly Joe. You know she didn't get to me, no. You know that little Joe, little Joe. My head is face down. I can see the crack in the floorboards. Smells like dust, cold dust. Get up, you little nigger savage. She sounds like a snake, hissing. Savage, I said, get up. I get up hissing. She's a snake. I stamp my foot, bent low. They know, the class knows. They want to join the dance like we did back home. They shift in their chairs. I move around the room. Sister Ann shouts, you come here, you little savage. I swerve past her in between desks. I head towards the door. The open door. Why aren't the children holding my hand so we can coil? Coil up like a snake. I smell sage. A rattle shakes. I go towards the door. You come here right now. She gets the switch, stomps towards me. I turn towards the door. The children bang on the desks. The beat of the drum, the beat. Sister Ann catches me, grips my arm. Loud footsteps. Sister Dorothy comes. What is going on? Quick, get her. She's speaking the devil's language. Devil's language, is she? Sister Dorothy clenches my arm. I'm bent down, foot stamping, the children banging the desk, pulse of the drum. She holds me down, one of them, I don't know who. I feel the switch over and over again. I say, they take me to the closet. Throw me in the closet. Now I am in darkness. I can still hear the faint sound of the children beating their desks, the drum.
So now you realize why?
Yeah.
You can't stop reading. Why don't you read a little bit more?
Sure.
I can smell the gardenias, lady.
Well, this is the gardenias. I mean,
Beautiful.
I had a lover who gave me gardenias. And also they are in a funeral like
It's intoxicating.
It is. Okay, so this is Margaret. We're jumping to 1941 in Portland, Maine. And Emma's... Yes.
Explain that they're all related.
Yes, thank you. Emma has a daughter, Delia. Delia has a daughter, Margaret. So in this scene, Margaret is witnessing her father leave, her mom. And the title of this is called Silver Cups. And I'd like to dedicate this passage to my mom. She would have loved to meet you. And she's the reason I'm a writer. She was a poet, an amazing woman. It's called Silver Cups. I remember this is Margaret speaking. I remember the song playing on the radio when my father left. The bells are ringing for me and my gal. My mother screaming at him in rage. The twins in saggy diapers crying, holding onto the edge of the crib. I stand next to them with eyes wide. My father tall, black, elegant. That's it, Delia. That's it. I'm not going through this again. He reaches for his hat by the door. Mother in a white slip holds a drink, swaying as she walks. You can't leave me. You can't leave me here. I stopped singing for you. Made you these babies. I could have toured with Ellington that night, but I chose you. You. She drops her drink, falls to the floor, and hugs his leg like I wanted to, just like I wanted to. No, Daddy, please don't go. Don't leave me, Henry. Henry, don't leave me. The children. What about the children, Henry? You don't cook, you don't clean. This place is a dump. You just drink. You're washed up. He shakes his leg like he is shaking off a horrid creature. My mother falls to the floor. You can't leave me. You can't leave me, Henry. You can't leave. My father's face is calm and in control. Now, Margaret, you take care of these boys. He nods his head, puts on his hat, and leaves. Mother throws her glass at the door. You bastard! You're all alike! You're all alike! Glass shatters, door shut, father gone, twins crying, saggy diapers. I am 5. My mother scans the room. I cower. It was you, Margaret. He left because of you, because you are a bad, ugly girl. She staggers after me. I run and hide under the couch. You come here. She grabs for my limbs. I hide way in the back of the couch and press against the wall. Across the room, the twins wail so loud, enough to get her attention. Shut up, she gets up. Shut up. She runs to them and I quickly roll out from under the couch. My mother lifts her hand to smack them. I stand between her and the crib as tall as I can be, and she smacks me so hard again and again. Shut up, until she is a pile on the floor again. The white slip, the shattered glass, the twins whimpering. The radio is still playing. The bells are ringing for me and my guy. In between my mother's cries, I can still decipher the melody.
Oh.
I haven't mastered crying and singing yet, so.
Your mother survived horrific poverty and in this alcoholic family, and she never talked about it.
No, and what happened with her generation is they just survived. And sometimes, I'm sure that you can relate, but sometimes that's what people can do, and that survival is their resilience. And that talking about it is not something that they are able to do.
How did you find out all this if you couldn't talk with her?
We were always so curious. And so there was always talk amongst me and my siblings, and especially my older sister, Lisa. And then just piecing things together from what she would tell one sibling to what she would tell another somebody, and then talking to family members in Maine. Although it's fiction. My mother wrote prolifically, like poetry, and incredibly crafted poems. So she wasn't. We always used to say, "Mom, why don't you write about, growing up and your childhood and everything?" And she again, and I think it was enough that she survived it. And I think if I can ever decipher her poetry and I really understand it, maybe I'll find some clues there.
When we talked on the phone and we talked about trauma, you said that it often passes from one generation, that you carry it in your genes, even if you don't know the stories.
Yeah, so that's been scientifically proven it's called epigenetics. And so that really, when I learned about that, as I was doing my research at St. Mary's on trauma in the brain and everything, and then just learning about epigenetics, it just rang so true to me. It just felt so true. And then just doing research in my family and just seeing how I believe that it's passed down. I feel it in my cells, but it's not just trauma. I also feel the resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what this book is also bringing forth as well. I know it's kind of intense.
Yeah. It's very intense.
We're gonna all be crying pretty soon.
Okay. Well, I already cried, so now your turn.
So in that case, the story of your mother affects your life and your creativity today.
Absolutely. I feel like there's something that the playwright August Wilson said. It's something to the effect that he's always writing the same story. That somehow his plays represent a similar, like the same theme over and over again. He's kind of writing the same thing, and that kind of resonated with me. So, yeah.
Are you writing the same thing over
I don't know. I mean, just like in terms of sometimes what we try to heal from is so big, it's so beyond us. So in how many ways we rewrite that same story in a way.
You want to read something there?
Oh, okay. Maybe something a little lighter.
There's nothing like in the book.
I
You're going to read from some other book.
Do you know, that's what my sister said. She said, Al, I have to take it in small bits. I said, okay. So, no, I'll read, when Emma, oh, here he is. She's resting on a stone, Emma. Okay. And she's, here she is. It's right after she's been in this school, okay? I lay back on the rock. River rushes past me. The warmth of stone heals my back. Still feel Sister Anne's switch. I drift into dreamland. Little one, remember the story of Bear Island. We are the Bear Clan. My mother, Sophia, a bear medicine woman, your grandmother. She had healing powers to cure ill, foraged forests for plants and herbs. White man disease came too strong. The pox came to Bear Island. Whole island suffered. The whales echoed at night. Wolves across the bay answered back. My mother tried, used herbs for my father Joseph, my brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. Hawks took them. We went to bring them to rest with ancestors to the mainland. We carried dead in a canoe, heading toward mainland. They shoot arrows at us, forcing us to go back. They didn't want the pox. My mother set the camp on fire. We left at night in a canoe. Wolves howling, people howling, owls hooting. There was no peace that night. Long journey, yes it was, all night gliding down the river, stars leading the way. Father's sun rises on the shore. My mother offers tobacco. I carefully step out of the canoe and join her facing the 4 directions. Thank you. We walk in silence through the forest. My mother shows me what herbs and roots to pick. I eat berries, and my mother fasts so she can be hollow, like a drum, to receive the spirit. She thanks the plants as we go. My moccasins worn, I keep going. The cries of the people and the wolf howls haunt me. I keep going. Grandmother Moon lights our way to the bay. I gather branches for the fire. I sleep curled in my mother's lap. Father's sun peeks through the trees. We walk to the river, to the stones. Father's sun rises, the stones light up and pictures appear. The spirit rocks speak to my mother. She sits and prays, listening for the song of our ancestors, waiting for the medicine. I don't speak. The images speak to me. Birdmen flying, a woman with 2 dogs, her arms raised to the sky world. A salamander from under the earth world, all carved in stone. I wait until the sun shifts across the sky and magic pictures disappear. Across the bay, a mother bear wades in the river with her cubs. She catches a salmon. My mother speaks to the bear. The fish squirms in the bear's mouth. She heads into the forest with her little ones behind her. Judah, my mother says, come. I follow her into the woods and help her strip birch bark off the birch trees. We wind the birch around a stick and tie it to save it for later to catch salmon. We rest before sundown, head back to the cove. The pictures light up one last time, the message from our ancestors fading with the light. We light the birch torch. My mother holds the torch over the water. I take out my knife, waiting for the fish. Something in the water flutters towards the light. I stab the fish. My mother says a prayer. It wriggles as we carry it to shore. We thank the salmon. I light a fire and we cook the fish. My mother finally eats, and what we don't eat, we give back to the river. I awake to my mother talking with a deer. We follow it through the forest back to our canoe. My mother lights sage, offers tobacco, giving thanks to Great Spirit mystery. And that's how we came here, little one. Your grandmother, Bear Medicine Woman from Bear Island. Always remember, we belong to the land. Papa! I call for him. I lift my head. He's not here. It was the stone. He spoke to me through the stone. Any questions?
I didn't have a question, but I wanted to compliment you on your observation on not repeating the cycle. So by educating people and your children and letting us know too that it's okay to forgive and move on and also learn, I can't wait to read your book.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm glad. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm glad I came all the way from Montana.
All right. Thank you for coming.
You win the prize. That's why I've got all these winter clothes on. You must be hot.
Yes. Hi, Andy.
Alison, the way that you read the book and how performative it is, have you thought about dramatic presentation of it? Have audio rights been sold? Is Isabel going to make a film?
Let's start in the film together. So, thank you. Great question. Torrey House Press, I think they are going to be doing audio. I don't know when. they're sort of looking into it. And I also have a Readers Theater event with a black theater company that I've been working with called Blackout Players, and we're going to be doing it's so much fun, because I started out as an actress.
Oh, we did
So-
not know that.
Really? Oh, so it's going to be at Booksync January 10th in Alameda.
Okay.
Oh,
Is it based on the book?
Yeah, I'm not doing anything, I'm just
Reading from the book.
reading from the book. It's Readers Theater. Yeah. So much fun.
Because this book would be developed into a theatrical monologue. That you
Easily.
would perform
Yeah.
alone with music. and-
She could do it all herself.
I know, or very cheap. I mean, Rep would do it.
I hope you do.
Yeah, it would be wonderful.
Did you used to read your poetry?
Oh yeah, I love doing that. Yeah,
I
with
could
the
assume- I could have assumed.
yeah with Nanette. We've gone all over California.
Oh, maybe you can read a poem. I'll get the book, just a minute.
Oh, she has it. Jim has it.
Oh, you have it? Yeah, okay.
Should I read one of mine or?
Yeah, no, yours.
Okay. So this is actually in my book, Temp Words, and they chose poem, this is from Red Indian Road West. Lucy Langday is the editor and also the writer and publisher, and Kurt, I can't say his last name.
Schwagman.
Thank you. And wonderful poets in here, so glad to be included. 62. So these two poems are in my book, poetry book, Temp Words, and this is, my brother passed away in 96 because he did not have health insurance.
Yes.
So let's get real with that,
Yes.
people.
Yes.
That, I mean, he would be probably alive today if he had had health insurance.
What did he die of?
He died of leukemia, and he was misdiagnosed 3 times as having asthma. So this is a huge tragedy to my family. We are pro single payer. I don't know if you can tell. But, so this is a poem for him, really. It's called Apparition. Walking to my brother's grave, past farmhouses, snowy fields, I step into spirit land. Are they resting? I look for the bench. We love you, Mommy, not Scots. Recognize the open fields when we sprinkled his ashes into a square hole in the earth, trying to joke, saying, he'd rather like a circle. Placing my hair, I cut for him, the last of him. Dust, back to the earth, with all these moaning spirits. I find the bench. Tears fall as I dig up the snow, revealing damp earth, and find his name. 1967 to 1996, so definite, so factual. His life, his death, entombed under a tree. I light the sage on a cement plaque, praying to Great Spirit, to the ancestors. I don't ask for anything, but the wind to take my smoke prayers, and peace for him, and for him to know I love him wherever he is. Kneeling in the snow, sage smoke rising, faint wind blows. I empty my thoughts. Peace swirls around me. I break off a twig of berries and place it on his plaque. Kiss my finger, place it on his name. I know he isn't there, that he has become the sky itself, smiling down on me.
I haven't read everything you've written, but I get the feeling that most of your writing is about, it's history, it's about racism, it's about the mistreatment of minorities. it's exploitation, violence against women, and suffering and memory. But it's also, as you said before, resilience and strength, and a way of seeing the magic part of the world and the spirit world. And it's a call to the land,
Yes.
and to memory, to remember, so that we don't go back and make the same mistakes again and again.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's how it feels when I hear you. So it's very tragic, but there is this note that is full of light.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
a new day.
Yes.
Definitely.
Renewal.
Hello.
Hi. Can I ask about the motif on the cover of your book?
Yes, so Torrey House Press, creative director Kathleen Metcalf, excuse me, I probably butchered her last name. She came up with this, and this, at first I wanted something really abstract and kind of artsy, you know, I was like, and then they showed me this, and I loved it. And because it plays on black and white, and then also it's the water, and there's water running through this book.
Yes.
River, Emma, she lives by the river, actually then they're by a bay, the Passamaquoddy actually live on a bay. So water is so, and to me like some of the characters, especially Delia, she is water, and she's fiercely water. She's water that can be dangerous if not contained. So if she stops singing, she loses it. There's nothing to contain her rageful water, the tsunami of the emotion that's inside her. So water is hugely important in the book. It's a thread. And yeah, thank you.
When did you write this book and how long did it take?
So I felt like this book with me for years. And as I was writing, I always kind of, I wrote poetry, plays, songs, short stories. I knew that this was coming. I just knew it, but in the back of my head. And I started it 2012, so that's 6 years. And I would become, I was speaking at another event, I think it was in Palo Alto, and someone asked a similar question, and then they asked like, well, how did you do it? You know, you're working full time, and yeah, working full time, single mom in the Bay Area. How do you do it? Well, I became a binge writer. So there's like weekends, that would be it. And then also, how did I do it? Where's that picture?
I thought you were going to say stripping.
Oh, you're funny.
You put it in the book, Alison.
I did. Who's helping me here? So this picture was instrumental in helping me get through the book. I had this lovely picture of Isabel Allende.
When I was young.
Stop it. She's beautiful now and beautiful then. So on my bookcase, I would walk by it. I'd walk by this picture, and if I had done my writing, I'd be like, thumbs up, Isabel. And then other times I'd walk by, I couldn't look at her.
Guilt.
So she has inspired me.
Thank you.
Her work has inspired me. Her work has been a map for me in terms of a map for my own life.
And when you were writing this, did you write each part separately and then you put it together, or you already had it in mind the way it is presented in the book?
I had a trajectory of where I was going to go, and then and I knew the characters. So I had the characters, and then sometimes those characters would surprise me, and then I'd have other characters come up. But it also, in order for me to really feel the characters, I had to do a lot of research. So that was because if it's not real to me, I can't write it. Yeah. I don't know.
I just want to say I really appreciated and love your sense and grasp of characterization and your dialogue. I know that's a big issue when you're writing fiction, and with the theater background, as like I have myself too, I know we connect with that. And I really appreciated the fact that your characters were able to be made round, whole, three-dimensional through the dialogue. I noticed there wasn't a whole lot of narration going on. It was in, the first person, which is really beautiful for me, because I write the same way. If I don't know, if I don't feel it, I can't write it. And it helped me, in the beginning, when you first gave it to me, I loved it, but it was like, I had to take it in small doses, because it's so personal for my family also. So it's something I've been through, my family's been through so much. And so it was hard, I cried a lot. I was like, can't read it now. So, but this last time, when you went finally through your final editing process with Tory Press, it was so beautiful, I could flow right through it. I understood it, the dialogue helped, I got what was going on with the 4 generations of women. I mean, I got it from the beginning, right away, but it was just emotionally difficult for me to read it. And the way it's finally come out, and it's been edited, and what you've all done with it, your editor, I know it's wonderful at Tory Press. It's a beautiful book. I have no problem even, and I know many Native people, many of us, African American people, anybody who's been through trauma and lost family members in this way. Boarding schools, my family abusers. I lost them through murder also. So it was very hard for me to read it, because it's like, oh my goodness, it's back again. So it's hard, emotionally. But in terms of the art, as we spoke many times, I believe it was Picasso who said, art is a lie told in order to tell the truth. And it's true, fiction does that. No,
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I'm totally,
It's absolutely
and
true.
that to me, everything's based on our own life. But
Yeah.
when we're taking people through that fictional storytelling, which we love to do as Indigenous people, all people love storytelling.
Yeah.
It helps, because it's a different way. It helps with the emotional, the trauma, whatever's gone on. That fictional story, that storytelling.
Going back to what you were saying about how that it's about family. It's about what has happened. Did you have a problem with your family?
Isabel, honestly, I was nervous of having my family read it.
Oh.
And,
That's a good question.
and so I basically told them what you told me. What happened? You had family members not.
Well, when I wrote The House of the Spirits, which is
Right,
fictional,
right.
many members of my family who felt that identified with some of the characters didn't speak to me for many years, until 1995.
Oh my goodness.
When the movie was released, and then everybody related to Jeremy Irons and Mary So that became the official story, So wait until the movie.
So I actually texted my brother and sister and said, look, this is what Isabel said. And frankly, I don't know if I'm gonna be alive in 20 years. I don't know if I have, so, come on, just tell me what's up, So
What did they say?
so then so my sister, they both said, listen, it's fiction. I said, yeah.
And if you have to choose between telling a story or betraying a beloved person, you choose to tell the story.
Tell the story.
If you're a writer,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
You can't stop yourself.
No.
It's terrible.
it is.
You want to read just one more part and then you can sign for everybody?
I don't know, how are people feeling? You want
We're
something
feeling-
light?
I think we could stay here for hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I have a really kind of devastating scene, but
That's okay.
Go
We need a
ahead.
good coffee.
We can all go and have a drink after.
We're adults.
because I'm just looking at. Oh no, I could do this one. This
No,
isn't. This
do
is.
the hard one.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm such a
I need to learn
teacher.
cry.
Raise your hand if you want further devastation.
I need a good
Emotion.
cry.
Okay,
I'm not a crier.
Really, you're not?
Okay, cry.
I love you, right?
I'm gonna sit here and cry.
All right.
I'll listen in.
Delilah's my favorite character. You guys, yeah, I know.
Lay it on us.
This program is
I love Delilah because out of control. She's the out of control water. She's the angry one. She doesn't hold back. Yeah, she's violent and she's got problems. And she's unhinged. So she was so much fun to write, and she's so much fun to read.
Yeah, you know, when my stepfather has many times objected that he's in none of my books. And I said he can't be because you have common sense. People with common sense don't make good characters. That's the one you want for your book. Oh my goodness.
Okay, now I just lost the page, I'm sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
But Henry had common sense.
Oh yeah, here it is, okay. Okay, here it is, I got it. Okay, so this is shortly after the scene that I cried. Where, after the fight and they're leaving. Okay. It's still Margaret. It smells in the apartment, and every so often at night, a rat scurries by on the floor. It must be morning. I can't tell. All the blinds are drawn. A sliver of light pushes through the drab green curtains. Dust motes dance in the sun like snowflakes. My mother stumbles into the living room in her silk bathrobe, her hair in tangles, a drink in her hand. What are you looking at? She shuffles, mumbling to herself. That's what happened. That's what happened. Lost my chance to sing. Oh, I never told you how it happened, did I? Never did. I was a featured singer that night. I felt beautiful. I was beautiful. Your father sat in the audience, summer at Old Orchard Beach Pier. I wore a sequined beige dress that sparkled in the light like diamonds. Yes, a beauty. I was beautiful. She takes a sip of her drink and spins around. We were the opening act for the great Duke Ellington. The number I sang was I Got It Bad and That Ain't Good. I did all right. I did. Sang the words like I meant them. I didn't know the great Duke was in the audience, but he was. He was. Our time was up. I was leaving the stage and he stopped me. Yes, the great Duke stopped me. He told me I sang pretty good and he invited me on tour with him. He gave me his card. And your father took my hand and we danced that night to the beats of Ellington, danced all night. My mother sways back and forth, dancing with an imaginary partner with her drink. The rat runs past her, and I quickly crawl up on the sofa. I want to go outside and swing on my tree. I want to play with Hank and Lloyd. I don't dare move. I don't want to get hit. Mother keeps talking, and I stay on the couch. We were in love. She twirls around. He was successful enough, educated, taught classes on auto mechanics, and fun, fun, fun. Handsome. Though Mama didn't care for him. Too black, she said. Worried about what our kids would turn out like. Not like me. Light enough because of my Irish father. Oh, Papa. Papa, he'd sing to me every night, he would. She sings to herself real soft. Henry was going to take me away from there. The dirty distillery, barrels and bottles. He was going to make me his wife, take care of me. I was his wife, had his babies. Your father lied to me. My mother was right. I should not have trusted a dark Negro man. I could have gone on tour with Ellington. Your father told me he loved me. He was going to take care of me, take me away from that wretched home, smelly distillers. And I let him take me. I let him. I loved your father, Margaret. He lied. He left me to what, Margaret? To this dump? This wretched stinkhole? And I could have been singing with the greatest of the greats? She hurls her drink against the door. She picks up the ashtray and throws it across the room. It hits the wall, shattering to pieces. Hank and Lloyd start to cry. Nobody cares about me anymore. Nobody cares at all. Margaret, never trust them. They will lie to you. She holds my face in her hand. All men do is take from you and offer skeletons in return. Skeletons! Remember that. Remember that. She picks up a bottle off the floor, carries it like a baby, and walks to her bedroom.